All right, gang. Good morning. Good morning. Let's get started. Let's rock and let's roll. Let me just start by asking this question. How many of you, if you didn't start your career with Everest, were sat down by the manager or the leader or whoever recruited you and said, congratulations, you have just signed up to be a leader? I mean, by virtue of the fact that you had a real estate license, they communicated to you that you really, what you signed up for is not to be a real estate agent, but rather to be a leader. And my suspicion is for every one of you, if you didn't start your career at Everest, you weren't told that. Because see, that's not the experience in real estate. But what I've discovered, and I think what all of you know, and it's one of the reasons that you're on this Zoom cast, is because you understand the importance of leadership and the fact that you own that. But what is leadership? Well, I would say that it's confidence. It's having a vision and be able to cast that for people. It's about having the right intentions, not having bad intentions, but really doing what is best for the client that you're proposing you would lead, the buyers and sellers. It's about persuading people to change their perspective, to do things maybe differently than they thought they should do it. It's about problem solving. It's about motivating people. I mean, how many of the clients that you work with, lack motivation, or your job is to help them discover their motivation and stay close to it, right? I mean, that's what leadership is about. It's about inspiring people, seeing people that it's possible, showing people that it's possible, helping them see that it's actually possible. And ultimately, leadership is about taking people to the next level. I mean, all of those things are leadership, but really, what do they have in common? It's all, if you look at it, it's really just influence. That's really at its core. That's what leadership is. Leadership is nothing more, nothing less than influence, ladies and gentlemen. And that's really what you hope to have, right, in your marketplace, is influence with those potential buyers and sellers, with your sphere of influence, that you have influence, that you can influence them to take decisions that will work in their behalf, and that they'll choose to work with you because of the influence that you have. So really, if you think about influence, it's really about changing people's perspective, and also, as a result, changing their behavior. So I want you to think about that, whether we're talking confidence or casting a vision, or good intentions, persuading people, problem solving, motivating them, inspiring them, taking them to the next level. All of those things, what do they have in common? What's the one thing that they have in common? And if you think about it, it's a pretty obvious answer. It's communication. The bottom line is that it's communication. That is the number one skill of a great leader. It's your ability to communicate. So it's no coincidence. In fact, I want you to write this down, because you've heard this before, but what I want you to do is, starting April 5th, this Monday, I want you to start out the week with a fresh, clear focus on this. I want you to write down my job. Just write that down in the notes that you're taking. Write down my job. And as you write that down, I want you to write down 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 simple things here. I'm just gonna rattle these things off. Your job, number 1, is to talk to people. Number 2, it's to follow up. So number 1, talk to people. Number 2, follow up. Number 3 is to set appointments and pre-qualify. So set appointments and pre-qualify. And then number 4 is to present to people. In other words, to go out and sit down with them at the kitchen table or the conference room table in your office, but present to people. In other words, have conversations with them about buying or selling. And then number 5 is to get price reductions. And then number 6, finally, is to work with highly qualified buyers. Now, look, if you think about that, pretty simple stuff, pretty cut and dry, pretty clear, right? What do those things have in common? Talk to people, follow up with people, setting appointments, presenting to people, getting price reductions, and working with highly qualified people. The one thing that they have in common is communication. It's the very reason, that, gang, that I firmly believe that when you got into real estate, you signed up to be a leader, because your number one job is to communicate with people. And everything that we do, it's about communication. And the number one skill of a great leader is their ability to communicate. I want you to think about this. In fact, write this down. It's exceptionally important. Write this down. The highest paid and most influential people, the highest paid and most influential people, the highest paid and most influential people are great communicators. The highest paid and most influential people are great communicators. I mean, history gives us great examples of great communicators, where history books will be written for probably centuries, if not beyond that, because of who they were. You look at a John F. Kennedy or a Martin Luther King, or an Abraham Lincoln or a George Washington, or more recently a Ronald Reagan, they called the great communicator. See, every one of those people had one commonality between all of them. They were great leaders, meaning they were great communicators. So if you want to be highly paid in the business of real estate and you want to be highly influential, then become a great communicator. So I'm all about having you write things down. So write this down. I want you to write this statement down. It's really important, because today I want you to be focused on this. Today I want you, if you're normally focused on this, I want you to tighten the screws and to up the ante. I want you to increase the intensity. If you're not normally focused on this, I want you to get focused on it, because, gang, you're not going to make more money in real estate, especially in this market, if you don't increase the level to which you communicate with other people. Not only in terms of the frequency, the quantity that you do it, but also the quality of that communication. So write this down. Today, I will, and then ... Today, I will. Just write that down. Today, I will. This is a declaration. I want you to declare it. I want you to decide. I want you to cut off all other options. This is what I'm going to do today. This is what I commit to. Today, I will, number one, connect with people. I want you to write that down. Today, I will connect with people. See, your job as a quote unquote real estate agent is to connect with people. Your job is to connect with people. Number two, today I will offer value. See, not only am I going to connect with people, but I'm going to offer value. And then number three, I'm going to separate myself from the competition. So today I will connect with people, I will offer value, and I will separate myself from the competition. See, I want you to commit to doing those three things. See, we have a tendency to get what we focus on. If you want to connect with people, if you want to have people perceive you as offering more value, and you want to separate yourself from the competition, then you have to constantly recognize that's what I'm going to do. Now, the question is, how do you do that? How do you connect with people? How do you offer value? How do you separate yourself from the competition? It's one simple answer. And I know you can anticipate what I'm going to say, but it's, you've got to communicate with people. You have to decide today that you're going to get on the phone and call people. Call your sphere of influence. Look at that list of people who like, trust, and respect you. Many of whom you look at and say, oh gosh, it's been so long since I talked to them. Or, the transaction didn't go that well. I'm kind of afraid to call them. Put all of those things aside and be the leader. Do the difficult thing. Be the bigger person and pick up the phone and call those people. Because you're not going to make more money in the business of real estate. You're not going to be a top producer if you don't own this mantle of leadership. And leaders, as we have discussed, I hope we all agree, is that they are great communicators. They talk to people. You've got to connect with people. The number one value that you offer in this business of real estate to your clients is your ability to communicate. It's your ability to persuade people to change their perspective, to get them to change their behavior so you can help them get what it is that they want. That's your greatest value. Your greatest value is reducing risk for people. It's helping people feel comfortable, feel calm, feel confident that if they work with you, they're going to get what it is that they want. See, but none of that happens if you don't confidently communicate with people. Let me just share with you this story, okay? Because look, what I know is that the vast majority of people that you talk to are not going to be interested in buying or selling real estate. I get that. And it makes our job very difficult. It makes it tough because most of the people we talk to say no, 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 no. And they sprinkle some personal criticisms in there, call us all sorts of names, slam doors in our faces, hang up on us, right? Compare us to, heaven forbid, to attorneys or car salesmen, right? But gang, we got to be willing to go out there and do the difficult work, to talk to the people, to connect to them, to offer value, to separate ourselves. So let me just share this story with you. This was several years ago. I was making my prospecting calls, and I happened to be calling Just Listed to Sold. And true to form, true to story, true to experience, the vast majority of people would say no. And this gal that I called, probably in, I don't know, sounded like, based upon her story and what she was sharing with me, probably in her 40s, because she had some young children, but not too young. And because of the things that she was talking about, I just surmised probably in the 40s. But I went through and I followed my script. And in following the script, she followed hers. And she said, no, we're not interested. Because I asked her, I said, do you have any plans on moving now or in the near future? And she said, no. And I said, great. Well, if you were to move, where would you move to next? And she kept telling me, no, not interested. We're not thinking about moving. And what was interesting is that I stuck with the script. And within 15 minutes, no more than 20, what I learned was that this woman's husband had been suffering with some pretty significant chronic knee issues. And they lived in a multi-level home, and their master bedroom was on the second story. And despite the fact that in 15 minutes, she had told me no countless times, I continued to ask the questions. In other words, to communicate, because that's what great communicators do, is they just simply ask a lot of questions. Because I stuck with the script, what happened is that I began to build some rapport with her. See, the number one way to build rapport with people is to simply ask questions. And you all know that. You meet a stranger in an elevator or a hallway or at a social event, you just don't very blankly stare at them and bat your eyes, right? You don't just start making statements to them and make one statement after another. What you already know is that you ask questions. So you already know this naturally. But for some reason in real estate, we forget to do this. We underestimate the impact that asking great questions has. So I just simply asked some great questions that were in a script that I didn't create, a script that you have access to in your script book that you've been given, either if you're being coached by ESS in that script book, or the one you've been given as an agent with Everest the Brokerage, California or Utah. So I just asked the Just Listed, Just Sold questions. And what is interesting is that after 15 to 20 minutes, I was able to get out of her all of that personal information. And I went back to the question. So it sounds to me like there might be an interest on your part of actually making a move. And she paused and she said, you know what, you're right. We've actually been talking about it. Now, I have to tell you, I was shocked and I was surprised by this because number one, I didn't expect this woman who kept saying no, no, no to me was going to say, yes, I'm actually interested, which for me in that moment taught me a great lesson. And I want you to write this down, because as you today commit to going out and connecting with people and offering value and separating yourself from the competition, in other words, by communicating and having conversations, you have to have this mindset. It was a very important moment. It was like one of those aha moments where the clouds opened and the sun rays came out and the angels sang. It was one of those light bulb moments. And what I realized is that in those situations, you have to have the right mindset. That if I'm going to communicate effectively with people, that even though the vast majority of them say no, I've got to have the expectation that they're going to say yes. So my question for you is this, when you do reach out to people, whether you do it consistently or occasionally, do you have the belief that they're going to say yes? Or do you have the expectation they're going to say no? See, what I learned that day is this, that I have to expect that they're going to say yes, but I'm not surprised when they say no. I want you to write that down. I must expect that they're going to say yes, but I'm not surprised when they say no. You see, that's all about my mindset. That's all about me. Why would you ever think about this? Gang, just pause for a second. Why would you ever do anything that you knew confidently in your mind, your subconscious mind, your conscious mind is saying, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. You wouldn't. And that's why so many real estate agents don't do their job. That's why so many real estate agents aren't really leaders. They're just realtors. Got some signs and some cards, and they're waiting for people to reach out to them. Not you. That's not who you are. You're a leader who understands it's your job to proactively go out and reach out to people. You don't wait. You reach out to people. But gang, you won't consistently prospect if you don't have the mindset of, I expect everyone I talk to is going to say yes to me about their interest to buy or sell real estate or to choose me. And when they say no, which oftentimes they do, in fact, the vast majority, I'm not surprised. See, if you're surprised when they say no, you're going to get knocked off balance. You're not going to know what to say. You're not going to be very inspiring. You're not going to be very motivational. You're not going to be very confident. You're not going to be very persuasive. You're not going to have the ability to take people to the next level, regardless of your good intentions. Good intentions don't matter if you don't bring a solid, confident leader to the table, to the conversation. So do you have the right mindset? That when I make the calls, when I knock the doors, when I reach out to people, when I have conversations, I expect they're going to say yes, but I'm not surprised when they say no. The cool thing is that woman said, yes, we're actually interested. We've been talking about it. See, she never would have admitted that to me if I didn't push through the script, building that connection and offering the value of my confidence, of not being dissuaded by her no's, and just simply as a leader, plodding forward, confident that she was going to say yes. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I just blindly followed the script. But now when I follow a script, I follow the script with absolute intention. Like, no, they're going to say yes. And if they say no, I'm not surprised. And I just simply finish the script, have my conversation, and move on to the next one. So one more thing that I want you to write down, because I believe in axioms. I believe in standards, philosophies, principles, because those are the things that guide us. Those are the guideposts. Those are the corners on the field. Those are the things that keep us in check, that keep us focused. I want you to write this down. I really want to know. I really want to know. See, gang, what I know about my conversation with that gal so many years ago, that mom, that wife who said no. This is what I know about that conversation. The reason that I was able to connect with her and offer value to her, where the fear that she experienced by talking to a stranger, and lo and behold, heaven forbid, a realtor, is because when I asked the questions, I came across with the right intentions. I really wanted to know. I was genuine when I asked the questions. See, it's one thing to have a script and go through it and just read through it, or to memorize it and just recite it. It's another thing to deliver it in a way where you demonstrate that you really want to know, that you really care. Demonstrate you care. And the number one way that you can demonstrate that you care with people is to ask questions. Remember, the number one human need, aside from food and water, is acceptance. It's acknowledgement. It's validation. So if you want to connect with people, you want to offer them value, you want to help them feel safe and secure, separate yourself from the competition, then communicate. Communicate by asking questions, asking great questions. Now, I'm not going to get into what questions. You might say, well, what are the great questions? They're all in the script book that you all have been given. So you've all been given a manual for success in real estate. It's called the script book. You have it. My question for you is, are you going to start using that manual. See, success in real estate is not a mystery, at least not for agents within the Everest family. See, we know what it takes. It takes great leadership, and great leaders are great communicators. And they take on the mantle, they carry the mantle of being willing to talk with people and to ask great questions, to connect with people, to offer value, to reduce risk, and to separate yourself from the competition. So gang, go out there and be the leader that you are. Expect that people are going to say yes. Don't be surprised when they say no. Today, commit to connect, to offer value, to separate yourself from the competition, and really want to know. All right, let's finish it up with some closing affirmations.